Where should you stay in Tokyo? It might sound like a simple question, but it's actually one of the most important decisions for your entire trip. Because Tokyo is not one city, it's a collection of different areas, each one offering a completely different experience. And here is the problem. Most people choose their location based on the price or random reviews, and only realize later that they picked the wrong area. They spend too much time commuting, missing the real atmosphere, and they realize that the trip doesn't feel like they imagined. So in this video I'm going to show you where to stay in Tokyo based on what kind of experience you actually want. And by the end you will know exactly which area is right for you. Let's start with what most people are looking for.
If you are coming to Tokyo for the energy, this is where everything happens. Shinjuku is one of the most intense areas in Tokyo, and that's exactly why so many people choose it. It's not just busy, it's hyper-connected. From here you can reach almost any part of the city quickly. Which means one thing, less time figuring things out and more time actually exploring. And that becomes more important than you think, because Tokyo is huge and even small mistakes in location can cost you hours. But Shinjuku solves the problems. You step outside and everything is already happening around you. Restaurants, shops, nightlife, transport, all within minutes. And then, the night comes. The entire area changes, lights turn on everywhere, small streets fill up, and suddenly you are in a completely different version of the city. If you want that iconic Tokyo feeling, this is one of the strongest choices you can make. But if Shinjuku feels intense, Shibuya feels alive. This is where Tokyo feels younger, faster and more dynamic. And there's a reason why. Everything here is designed around movement. People, trends, culture, constantly changing. You don't just visit Shibuya, you experience it. It's the kind of place where you walk without a plan and still find something interesting every few minutes. But here's the key difference. Shibuya is not just chaos, it's controlled chaos. Steps away from the main streets and you will find quieter areas, smaller cafes and hidden spots, so you get both sides, energy and balance. Now, if both Shinjuku and Shibuya feel a bit overwhelming, there is another option, Ginza. And this is where Tokyo changes again. Everything feels more organized, more refined, more calm. But don't confuse calm with boring, because Ginza is still right in the center of everything. You just experience it differently. Luxury shops, clean streets, high-end restaurants, it's a more polished version of Tokyo. So, if you want energy, convenience and that classic Tokyo atmosphere, these are the areas most people should start with. Asakusa is where you will feel it immediately. The pace slows down, the streets look different, the atmosphere changes, and this is where many people are surprised. Because it doesn't feel like the Tokyo they expected. It feels older, more traditional, more connected to history. You have temples, local shops, street food, and a completely different rhythm. And then something interesting happens. At night, everything becomes quiet, which is something you don't often experience in Tokyo. If you are looking for a calmer, more cultural experience, this is where the city feels different. Ueno sits somewhere in between. It's not as intense as Shinjuku, not as traditional as Asakusa, but that is exactly why it works. You get parks, museum and local life, and still easy access to the rest of the city. And for many people, this balance is exactly what they need. Now let's shift to a completely different experience. Roppongi is where Tokyo becomes more intentional and more upscale. Everything feels more curated, more intentional, high-end dining, luxury hotels, refined nightlife. But here's what makes it interesting. It doesn't feel chaotic. Even at night, it feels controlled. If you want comfort, style and a more premium experience, this is where you look. Now let's talk about something most people underestimate, logistics. Because in a city like Tokyo, where you stay directly affects how much you enjoy your days. Ikebukuro is not the most exciting area, but it's incredibly functional. Good connections, good prices, everything you need. And sometimes that is exactly what matters. Tokyo Station is even more strategic. You are connected to everything, including long-distance travel, which means one thing. You spend less time moving and more time experiencing. But there is one thing most people don't realize until after their trip. You don't actually need to stay in the main tourist areas to have a great experience in Tokyo. In fact, if you're trying to save money, staying slightly outside those areas can be a much smarter choice. Because Tokyo's transport system changes everything. It's fast, reliable and incredibly well connected. which means something interesting. You can stay in a quieter, more local neighborhood, paying significantly less, and still be in places like Shinjuku or Shibuya in 10 to 20 minutes. And for a lot of travelers, that's the perfect balance. Take areas in Setagaya, for example. They are more residential, less crowded, and often more affordable. Neighborhoods like Shimokitazawa are a great example of this. They feel local, creative, full of small cafes and independent shops, but at the same time, you are just a few minutes away from Shibuya by train, or places like Nakano and Koenji. They are known for being more budget-friendly and more local, but still very well connected to major hubs like Shinjuku. In Tokyo, distance matters less than connection. A place that looks far on the map might actually be more convenient than something central if it's better connected. But there is one thing you absolutely need to check. Your accommodation must be close to a train or a metro station, not just in the same neighborhood, but within walking distance. Because even a great area becomes inconvenient if you have to walk 15 to 20 minutes just to reach transport. And not all train lines are equal. Some areas might look well connected, but requires multiple transfers every time you move. So always check how many stops and how many changes it takes to reach places like Shinjuku or Shibuya. If you are on a budget, don't just look for the cheapest hotel in the center, look for the best connected area within your budget. That's where you get the best combination of price, convenience and experience. So how do you actually choose? Here is the simplest way to think about it. If you want energy and convenience, Shinjuku or Shibuya. If you want something more refined, Ginza. If you want tradition, Asakusa or Ueno. If you want luxury, Roppongi. If you want efficiency, Tokyo Station or Ikebukuro. There is no single best area, only the best one for the experience you want. And now, you know how to choose it. If you're planning your trip to Japan, check out my full Tokyo guide next. It will help you avoid the most common mistakes and make your trip much smoother.